Before we dive in, imagine this. The world watches as peace talks finally return to the table. Hope flickers for the first time in months, and suddenly the sky erupts with fire. A wave of missiles slices through the early morning silence, turning anticipation into fear and raising one urgent question. Was peace ever really an option? Today we're breaking down everything behind a peace on the table. Missiles in the sky, Russia's sudden aerial blitz on Ukraine, and what this moment means for global stability, military strategy, and the fragile attempts at negotiation. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's get into the full picture and unpack this dramatic turn of events. The situation began developing long before the missiles launched. Both sides had been under intense pressure from the international community to return to discussions aimed at reducing hostilities. There were cautious signs that diplomacy might finally take priority. Leaders on both sides made statements that suggested a willingness to talk, even if trust was still thin. But underneath that slim surface of progress, tensions remained high. Surveillance had shown increased military movement, and intelligence briefings hinted that Russia might be preparing operations. Still, the timing shocked observers because it collided directly with the start of peace negotiations. The contrast between diplomatic language and military action created a moment that felt contradictory, even surreal, leaving analysts scrambling to understand the motive. On the exterior of this situation, the most visible element was scale. The assault wasn't a small strike or a symbolic warning. This was large, coordinated, and meant to send a message far beyond Ukraine's borders. Dozens of aircraft participated in the operation, ranging from long-range bombers to tactical fighter jets. Early reports indicated the use of both cruise missiles and drones, hitting infrastructure targets, defense locations, and energy facilities. The nighttime sky lit up with explosions that could be seen miles away. The civilians reported hearing waves of engines overhead followed by rapid blasts. Social media filled with videos showing streaks of light crossing the sky, smoke rising from industrial zones, and emergency sirens screaming in major cities. Externally, the attack was engineered to be loud, visible, and deeply unsettling. This exterior presentation served multiple purposes. Militarily, it was designed to overwhelm Ukraine's air defenses by attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. Politically, it projected power at the exact moment when peace talks were supposed to take pressure off the conflict. Psychologically, it reminded Ukraine and the world that Russia still has significant firepower and can deploy it on short notice. Even the choice of targets had symbolic value. Energy installations, communication hubs, and transportation routes. These aren't just military assets. They are lifelines for millions of civilians, and disrupting them creates chaos, uncertainty, and hardship. Many believe the visual intensity of the assault was intentional, crafted to dominate the global conversation and overshadow diplomatic progress. Inside Ukraine, the interior reality was far different. Chaos, fear, and quick decisions. Homes shook from shockwaves. People rushed to shelters in the middle of the night. Power outages spread across regions. Emergency teams worked through debris, smoke, and flames. The interior experience wasn't the political chessboard or strategic map. It was the raw human impact. Families trying to contact loved ones. Hospitals switching to backup generators. Local authorities struggling to track damage while new waves of missiles kept arriving. For civilians, the interior story was simple: survival. For government officials, the priority was restoring order while communicating with international allies. And for the military, the interior situation meant coordinating defense systems, intercepting incoming missiles, and protecting critical infrastructure. This perspective grounds the event not in strategy, but in the everyday lives disrupted in seconds. When we look at performance, Russia's aerial operations showcased capabilities that had been anticipated but not fully demonstrated in recent months. Their air power has often been used cautiously due to Ukraine's evolving air defenses, especially after receiving Western systems like Patriot and NASAMS. But this attack showed a shift in approach. The performance involved synchronized air units, precision-guided missiles, and newly modified drones capable of traveling longer distances with improved accuracy. Analysts noted the efficiency of timing, multiple waves spaced to exploit gaps in defensive reload cycles. Some missiles traveled low to avoid radar detection, while others attacked from high altitudes. The mix complicated interception attempts and pushed Ukrainian forces to their limit throughout the night. Performance-wise, Russia demonstrated not only technological capability, but also strategic coordination that hadn't been seen on this scale recently. On the other hand, Ukraine's performance in defense also stood out. Early confirmations indicated that many incoming missiles were intercepted, saving countless lives. Air defense crews worked with relentless focus, launching interceptors, repositioning mobile systems, and adjusting responses as attack patterns changed. Their experience from previous months clearly played a role. Civilians used well-practiced shelter routines, emergency responders deployed rapidly, and communication channels stayed active. While the attack caused damage, Ukraine's defensive performance reinforced its resilience and adaptability. International partners followed this performance closely, as it highlights which support systems are working effectively and where additional assistance may be required. Safety features during an aerial conflict sound unusual, but in this context we're talking about the protective layers designed to reduce casualties. Ukraine's nationwide air raid alert system activated immediately, giving people precious minutes to take cover. Shelters that had been upgraded over the past year were used to full capacity. Hospitals had reinforced infrastructure to withstand vibrations and nearby blasts. Several cities had installed blast-resistant windows in key public buildings. These features, if not preventing harm entirely, significantly reduced the scale of casualties during the attack. On Russia's side, their aircraft operated with defensive countermeasures such as flares, radar jamming systems, and evasive flight patterns to avoid Ukrainian interception attempts. These safety mechanisms are part of modern aerial combat, ensuring that aircraft can complete missions while minimizing losses. What makes this entire incident stand out? Its unique selling points centers on timing, contrast, and messaging. First, the timing couldn't have been more provocative. The very moment peace talks were restarting, this strike landed. That creates a global narrative that's hard to ignore. It frames the attack not just as warfare, but as a statement about the value or futility of negotiation. Second, the dramatic contrast between discussions of peace and visuals of war amplifies the shock factor. It creates a storyline that resonates emotionally, politically, and socially. Third, the messaging behind the attack is layered. Some interpret it as Russia attempting to strengthen its leverage at the negotiation table. Others see it as a sign that certain factions oppose peace efforts altogether. And some believe it's intended to test international reactions, especially from the US, NATO, and European Union. The unique selling point here is that this wasn't just an attack, it was a message delivered in the loudest way possible. When discussing price, we're talking about cost on every level. The financial price is enormous. Each missile launched costs hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Aircraft operations involve fuel, maintenance, personnel, and logistics. For Ukraine, the cost includes damaged infrastructure, emergency repairs, power grid disruptions, and lost economic productivity. Cities will need weeks, sometimes months, to restore critical systems. The humanitarian price is even higher. Families losing homes, children experiencing trauma, communities being displaced. This event amplifies the long-term economic burden on a country already strained by war. There's also the geopolitical price. Trust in negotiations drops, tensions rise, and world leaders must reconsider their strategies. The cost of this aerial blitz isn't measured only in damage, but in the setbacks it creates for regional and global stability. In conclusion, a piece on the table, Missiles in the Sky captures more than a moment. It captures the conflict's emotional and strategic contradictions. While the world hoped peace discussions might mark a turning point, this sudden and large-scale assault pulled attention in the opposite direction. The exterior show of power, the interior human toll, the performance of military systems, the safety measures that prevented even greater loss, the unique timing that shaped global interpretation, and the heavy price on all sides combined to create a moment that will influence future diplomacy and military planning. It reminds us that in conflicts like this, progress is fragile and can be reversed in seconds. The hope for peace remains, but events like this challenge the possibility. and remind the world how high the stakes truly are. As we continue watching how leaders respond, one thing is certain: this incident will be remembered as a turning point, shaping discussions, decisions, and strategies in the weeks ahead.